It's already July. And if you have school-aged children, there's probably a pretty good chance there's a summer workbook or two sitting somewhere in your house. Maybe you bought it because you wanted to keep your children from falling behind. Maybe a friend recommended it, or perhaps a former teacher appeared on your Instagram feed pushing their side hustle. There's just one problem. For a lot of families, those few workbook pages become the least enjoyable part of the day. So what if I told you the best way to prepare your child for school might not involve workbooks or worksheets at all? Today, I'm going to talk about what the developing brain is actually looking for during the summer months. If that sounds interesting, please stay tuned. Hi, I'm Becky from Music is Academic, and I work with teachers, schools, families, and organizations to turn brain science into practical tools that support learning, attention, and regulation. I think one of the reasons summer workbooks are so popular is that they tap into something that every parent feels. We all want to know we're doing the right thing for our children. And if someone tells us that 10 minutes a day will help them to succeed at school, it's hard not to wonder if that's exactly what we should be doing. By the time the end of May or early June rolls around, the messages are everywhere. Walk through a bookstore, browse online for a few minutes, or simply scroll through social media, and you'll see workbook after workbook promising to prevent the dreaded summer slide. Some claim they'll help children to just stay ahead. Others promise kindergarten readiness. Before long, it starts to feel as though a successful summer should somehow include a stack of completed workbook pages. I honestly understand why parents buy them. After all, none of us wants to be that parent who accidentally lets their child fall behind. When someone presents a workbook as an easy solution, it only feels like the responsible thing to do is to toss one into the shopping cart. It feels like you're doing your job. The trouble is, real life doesn't always cooperate with the marketing. What looks so simple and happy sitting on a Walmart shelf can become surprisingly complicated once it hits the kitchen table. The first morning goes fairly well, but by the second or third day, the enthusiasm and novelty has definitely begun to fade. Suddenly, your child needs a snack before they can start. Their pencil has mysteriously disappeared, and the dog snoring away on the floor is far more interesting than the addition problems in front of them. Somehow, a worksheet that was supposed to take 10 minutes has managed to consume half the morning, and nobody is enjoying themselves anymore. I remember one mom in one of my summer camp programs who looked completely exhausted. She told me, "I don't know what's wrong with us. Every morning I tell myself we're just going to do one page, and every morning it turns into an epic battle." Then she added, "The funny thing is, after we finally give up, we spend the rest of the afternoon outside or doing crafts, and that's when my daughter is the happiest." That conversation perfectly captured what so many families experience. Parents aren't buying workbooks because they want to make life difficult. They're buying them because they love their children and genuinely want to help them. I do want to say that this isn't a video about why workbooks and worksheets are bad, because they're not. Worksheets can absolutely have a place. They can provide practice, reinforce a concept, or give a child an opportunity to apply something they've already learned. Used thoughtfully and in moderation, there's nothing inherently wrong with them. But I do think we've been approaching this the wrong way. Maybe we shouldn't be asking ourselves, how many workbook pages should my child complete this summer? Perhaps instead we should consider what kinds of experiences actually help build a brain that's ready to learn. This changes the whole approach to summer learning. If you're listening to this and thinking, "Okay, Becky, if we're not supposed to spend all summer doing worksheets, what should we be doing?" That's exactly the question I hoped you would ask. The truth is, I think we've accidentally equated looking academic with being academic. A workbook certainly looks like learning. A page full of neatly written letters or completed math problems gives us something we can both see and measure. It's tangible. At the end of the day, we can point to those pages and say, "Look what we've accomplished." The problem is that the brain is not nearly as concerned with appearances as we are. The brain is constantly learning, whether a child is sitting at the kitchen table, chewing on their pencil, or chasing butterflies across the backyard. Think about a typical summer afternoon. One child is helping to make lunch. They're measuring ingredients and following directions. Another is building a fort with friends and solving problems that weren't part of the original plan. Maybe your family takes a walk after dinner, talks about what they see, and laughs about something silly that happened during the day. None of those moments look particularly academic, but every one of them is exercising the brain. They're building attention and language. They're building memory, problem-solving skills, and self-regulation. They're helping coordination, social skills, and curiosity. The very systems children depend on, both when they return to school and as they move on through life. That's why I don't think the goal of summer is to recreate the classroom at home. Children already spend months sitting at desks, completing assignments, and practicing very specific academic skills. Summer gives us something different. It gives us the freedom to build the foundation that supports all of that learning. Ironically, many of the activities that seem the very least school-like are often the ones doing the most important work. So maybe we should consider, how many opportunities can we give our children to move and explore, to create, to imagine, to wonder, and to connect with the people around them? Because those experiences aren't taking a break from learning. They are learning. One of the things I find most fascinating about the brain is that it doesn't wait for someone to announce, okay, it's time to learn. Learning is happening all day long. Every conversation, every new experience, every problem that has to be solved is giving the brain another opportunity to grow, adapt, and make new connections. And that's especially true for children. Their brains are constantly looking for patterns, making predictions, testing ideas, and trying to make sense of the world around them. In many ways, that is the brain's full-time job. All those everyday experiences are keeping your child's brain incredibly busy. The difference is that during the summer, they're practicing those skills in ways that feel meaningful instead of mandatory. I sometimes think we've underestimated just how powerful ordinary moments can be. None of those experiences come with a grade or end with a gold star. Yet, they may be doing far more to prepare the brain for learning than we realize. And there's something else that is woven through many of those everyday moments. Whether children are skipping down the sidewalk or jumping rope, there's often a steady pattern of movement and timing underneath the activity. That matters because the brain doesn't simply learn facts, it learns through patterns. And one of the most powerful patterns that we experience throughout life is rhythm. As we've been talking about summer activities, you may have noticed something interesting. Rhythm keeps quietly showing up in the background. Most of the time we don't even think about it because it feels so natural, and that's exactly the point. Rhythm isn't something we have to force into a child's day. It's already woven into the way children play, move, speak, and interact with the world around them. The developing brain is constantly looking for organized patterns. Rhythm provides those patterns, helping children coordinate movement, anticipate what comes next, and organize their actions over time. That's one of the reasons rhythm appears virtually in every culture, every generation, and at every stage of life. It isn't simply entertainment. It's one of the ways human beings naturally organize themselves and their brains. That's also why I believe rhythm is far more than a music concept. It's a fundamental learning concept. When we add rhythm to everyday experiences, we're not trying to make life more musical just for the sake of music. We're strengthening many of the same systems children rely on when they return to school. And the wonderful thing is that none of this requires any extra work. And perhaps the biggest difference between a summer filled with worksheets and a summer filled with meaningful experiences. One asks children to practice isolated academic skills, and the other gives the brain countless opportunities to organize itself through movement, relationships, curiosity, and rhythm. Both have value, but only one of them is happening almost every minute of every summer day, if we choose to notice it. As we wrap up today, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. If there's a summer workbook or workbooks sitting on your kitchen table, don't feel guilty if every page doesn't get finished. You didn't buy it because you were trying to make your child's life or your life miserable. You bought it because you love your child and you want them to be successful in school. Every good parent understands that feeling. What I hope is that this conversation has done is to simply broaden the way we think about learning, and why I believe summer doesn't have to look like school to prepare children for school. Sometimes the very experiences that seem the least academic are quietly building the strongest foundation for learning. If you would like some additional tips about applying the information in this video, then be sure to check out the free PDF Rhythm for Real Life linked in the description. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to continue exploring what neuroscience is teaching us about learning, rhythm, movement, and child development, I'd love to have you join our Music is Academic community by subscribing to this channel. Be sure to hit the thumbs up and also click on the bell so you don't miss a video. And before I go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. When you think back to your own childhood, what's one summer memory that has stayed with you all these years? And if you're a parent, have summer workbooks been a helpful part of your family's routine, or have they created much more frustration than you expected? I always enjoy reading and hearing your stories, and many of your ideas inspire future videos, so please keep sharing them. Until the next time, thanks so much for watching. Take care.